This is week 156 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. I'm Anna Belokur, reporting to you from Kyiv, and I'll be taking you through the top stories from Ukraine this week. Almost 2 weeks ago, on January 27th, reports began circulating in Ukrainian media that the head of Ukraine's military intelligence, Kirill Budanov, had issued a dire prediction that the country's very existence would be in danger if peace talks did not begin before summer. Budanov allegedly made this remark in a confidential parliamentary meeting. An unnamed attendee told Ukrainska Pravda that the military intelligence chief was asked how much time Ukraine realistically can keep fighting, and he responded that if there are no serious negotiations by the summer, dangerous processes could unfold, threatening Ukraine's very existence. The agency denied outright that its head had made any such statements, and said that the quotes were wholly fabricated. Opposition lawmaker Alexei Honcharenko, who was there at the time, also disputed the quote that Ukrainska Pravda published, claiming instead that Budanov had warned that if nothing changes, the front line may begin to collapse and there will be problems, but with no mention of impending danger to the country's existence. The Kyiv Independent couldn't verify the claims either way. If true, it wouldn't be Budanov's first radical prediction about the full-scale invasion. His previous guesses have played out inconsistently in real life. Still, the State Security Service launched an investigation into the leak on January 31st, on the grounds that state secrets had been disclosed. Whatever Budanov's wording, it points to a big question on everyone's mind. When will peace talks start? What condition will both sides be in when that happens? What are the hard deadlines for each side? And what happens if we pass them? There's a sense that now that Donald Trump is back in the White House, a countdown of unknown length has begun that ends in Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin sitting opposite each other and attempting to come to an agreement about how to end the war. Both sides are giving increasing signs of willingness to engage with the other. Zelensky said he would sit across from Putin to end the war, even though he sees him as an enemy, while Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Russia is ready to negotiate, despite its ongoing false assertion that Zelensky's presidency is illegitimate. Putin has repeatedly said that Zelensky is ineligible to sign any peace agreements, but Peskov's comments indicate that Putin might not cling to this particular argument in negotiations, although that's far from a guarantee that he won't. There is still no consensus on what kind of deal could possibly be struck between the two countries, although Allied leaders have teased that they're at least somewhat optimistic. NATO chief Mark Rutte has said that he has some secret insight into some of the ideas that could be brought to negotiations, and claimed that if successful, they'd permanently deter Putin from ever reinvading Ukraine. He didn't say more than that, so we can only guess as to what he knows. As of Wednesday, Trump's team itself is reportedly split over the best way to end the war. NBC News reported that some in the administration, including Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia General Keith Kellogg and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, are gunning for a bold stance against Russia that forces Putin to back down. Without naming names, NBC said that others are advocating for a withdrawal of American military support, which would effectively force a speedy capitulation by Ukraine. I think it's clear which option Ukraine unequivocally prefers. At the Kyiv Independent, reader contributions are our main source of revenue. Shows like Ukraine This Week are only made possible by viewers like you. If you'd like to get more involved in the Kyiv Independent community, we have several membership tiers that give you access to our Discord community, exclusive content, discounts on our merch, Q&As with our staff, moderated Ukrainian language lessons, and more. We have an active group of readers who have built a relationship with our newsroom and with each other, and we'd love to have you along. There will be a link to our membership page in the description below. I'd also like to thank everyone who donates directly via YouTube. Your support is greatly appreciated. At least 4 people were killed on February 1st when an airstrike hit a boarding school in Sudzha, a town in Russia's Kursk Oblast that has been occupied by Ukrainian forces since mid-August. There were over 80 Russian civilians sheltering in the school at the time of the strike. Russia has opened an investigation against the commander of Ukraine's 19th Separate Missile Brigade, claiming that the strike was launched from Ukraine's neighboring Sumy Oblast. Russia did not provide any evidence to support this claim. Ukraine's general staff says that the strike was carried out by Russia itself, using a guided aerial bomb. On February 1st, Ukraine's Air Force published screenshots from its air target detection system, showing the alleged flight path of the guided bomb being launched from Russia by Russia. You might ask, would Russia bomb a building full of its own citizens just so it could blame their deaths on Ukraine? Although it's still unconfirmed what exactly happened in Sudzha last week, the incident calls to mind a series of bombings that shocked Russia in 1999, in which Moscow and other cities suffered seemingly random explosions originating from the basements of apartment buildings, killing hundreds and leaving the entire country in a state of constant terror that their building could be next. The attacks were blamed on Chechen terrorists, and fear from the attacks spurred widespread public support for what would become the Second Chechen War. At the height of the panic, 3 individuals were caught planting explosives in the basement of an apartment building in Ryazan, a city about 120 miles east of Moscow. Rather than being Chechen terrorists, however, the perpetrators were revealed to be federal agents. When caught, the agents claimed to have been conducting a public awareness test and commended the citizens who reported their suspicious activity. No one has ever been conclusively proven guilty in orchestrating the 1999 apartment bombings. The pervasive story that they were the work of Chechen terrorists certainly drummed up support for Russia's renewed war in Chechnya that same year, and the government's seemingly decisive choice to invade as retribution for the deaths of Russian citizens was a key rhetorical point for the Kremlin's hand-picked candidate in the 2000 presidential election, former KGB agent and then newbie politician, Vladimir Putin. As Russia faces the prospect of a 4th year of war, with economic and manpower reserves dwindling, there's a huge scramble to maintain momentum on the battlefield without sparking widespread discontent with the war at home. A building full of Russian civilians knocked down by an evil outsider is an evocative image if you're a Kremlin propagandist, one that will make ordinary Russians angry and afraid for their own lives. It's the kind of image that drums up widespread hatred for the perceived perpetrator, whether Chechen terrorist or Ukrainian soldier. It's the kind of image that Putin historically loves to evoke when he's gearing up for something and wants to rally the Russian people behind him. Amidst Donald Trump's 90-day freeze on all foreign aid, questions and rumors abound about America's use of money outside its own borders, prompting a Twitter conspiracy that claims taxpayer money is being used to send Hollywood elites on luxury PR trips to Ukraine. In June of 2022, American actor Ben Stiller, or as many of us can't help but think of him, Derek Zoolander, visited Ukraine on a humanitarian trip. Stiller met with displaced Ukrainians and visited liberated towns around Kyiv. He also spoke personally with President Zelensky, who he referred to at the time as his hero. Stiller's reflections on the trip are overwhelmingly positive, saying later that he was really taken by the resilience of the people of Ukraine and their president. A video emerged this week, more than 2 years after the event, claiming that Stiller's trip was funded by the US government to drum up public support in America for Zelensky. The video, which appeared on Twitter, was fabricated to look like it had been released by E! Network, and claimed that USAID had spent millions to send Stiller, along with other celebrities like Sean Penn and Angelina Jolie, on extravagant PR trips to Ukraine. You might ask, why does it matter that some Twitter bot made a fake video with photoshopped headlines that are easily debunkable? Who would retweet something like that? Well, Elon Musk would, and he did. It was viewed millions of times by people who probably took it at face value. Stiller called out the conspiracy as a blatant Russian disinformation campaign and asserted that he had self-funded his trip to Ukraine. Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation also debunked the claim, noting that the alleged article in the post that Musk had retweeted did not exist on the website of the news outlet that it was said to originate from. The future of actual USAID-funded projects in Ukraine remains uncertain as Trump's 90-day freeze continues, and rumors swirl that the agency could be shut down and merged with the State Department. Trump appointed Secretary of State Marco Rubio as acting head of USAID on Monday, the same day that Musk said that he had Trump's blessing to shut down the agency as part of his assignment to reduce the size of the government. Amid the uncertainty, Ukraine's Parliamentary Humanitarian and Information Policy Committee has begun consultations with European partners to temporarily replace lost U.S. funding. That's all for this week. We'll be back next Sunday with more news from Ukraine. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Your support is what allows us to bring you independent, unbiased news about Russia's invasion, which we are committed to doing no matter how much uncertainty the world faces. If you'd like to become a member of the Kyiv Independent community, please visit the link in the description below. I'll see you next week.